Page 131. Maran writes in Shulchan Aruch, Im hita chavit mela'a mayim v'halach v'yashav lo. If a person pours a barrel of water on its side, he puts it tilted, and then he leaves. והחבית שופכת מים כל היום, מחמת הטייתו. And the barrel continues pouring water even the whole day, meaning it keeps pouring because he tilted it sideways. V'natal yadav mimena, and he washes his hands from this barrel. Is it considered a kasher netilah? Because what requires a kasher netilah? That it's a man's action, a person's action that is causing the water to come out. Let's say he comes back in an hour, and he puts his hands there. Does it count as if he was the one pouring the water?
He was the one that put it that way before he leaves.
Yeah,
but I don't know if it's gonna count because he already left the place.
If it wasn't for him, would that water be coming out?
No.
No. So says Maran, al tadu netilah. It counts for hand washing.
For him, but not for me.
So for the Ashkenazim, you shouldn't do it. And you've been saying Good Shabbos recently. So.
No, Rabbi, no, I say no. when no, not say Magan. No, I say like if somebody put it like this way. Let's say Moshe come and can do Netilah Yadayim because he's the one that put this like this. But I can't do Netilah Yadayim because I didn't do it. He did it. I didn't. You said that I need to do the action.
From a person.
Yeah, but still, first.
In the olden days, even now, when I go to some places, Sephardic places, people wash my hands. I'm a rabbi, they come, they wash my hands. I didn't wash my hands.
Oh, so they can hold.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It says, Maran, in the next page, 132, Hakol ksherim niten mayim leyadayim. Everybody is kasher for pouring water on somebody else's hands. Afilu cheresh, even a deaf person, shoteh, a crazy person, someone who doesn't even understand what they're doing. Katan, a child. Goy, a non-Jew. Venida, and a lady who's impure. All of these people are allowed to pour water on your hands for netilat yadayim. Haga, says the Rama, a note. V'ika man da'amar dekatan pachot mishesh tino kekov. We spoke about this last time. That some say, in Ashkenaz, there's an opinion that a child under the age of 6, his halachic status is the same as that of a monkey. Meaning, he doesn't know what he's doing, he doesn't count. The child under 6 doesn't count. Okay, we'll get to monkeys soon.
Okay.
Right now, no monkeys.
Okay, good.
That's for the next halakha. That's halakha Yud Bet 12. One second, I'm sorry. Do you want to write down maybe just the time on the camera that I'm writing so Barry knows to cut it out?
It's 4:20 right now.
¿Qué página dijo Rabino?
So, Page 132. If you want, there's a few extra books over here. They're going to look like this. And they're going to say Chet. It says, under the two lines, Halacha Chava, L'minhag Sfaradim ve'edot Mizrach. According to the custom of the Sfaradim, Shekiblu alehem horot Maran Shulchan Aruch have accepted upon themselves 132. Who've accepted upon themselves the halachot of Maran the Shulchan Aruch. Mutar diton yadayim. It's permissible to wash hands. Leidei cheresh shoteh v'katan. One is able to have their hands washed for them by a deaf person, a mentally insane person, and a child. Okay, let me explain first why all these things are in this category. Not all these statuses are equal, but they all have a similar problem with them. What's wrong with a deaf person?
It's normally not required to perform mitzvot.
Why?
Because he may not know. He can't say brachot.
A deaf person.
Only a deaf person, or he may not be able to
Could be a mute person also. Before there was a way for deaf people to communicate, was considered not a member of society. There was no way to interact. In fact, it's pretty scary if you read about how deaf people used to be, or didn't used to be part of society. Many question today if the halachot regarding deaf people are still relevant, because people who are deaf today can, and those who are mute also, can communicate in so many ways that don't have to do with speech or with hearing. But we're reading in Maran's time. A person who's deaf is a person who can't have kavanah to be washing your hands for you because there's no way to communicate with them that they're going to be doing a mitzvah for you. This doesn't really apply today. What about a shoteh, a mentally unstable person, insane person, a person who has no dad? The person has no idea what they're doing. How could they wash hands for you if they can't have kavanah of what they're doing? Katan, a child. Hanan really understands. He's not crazy. He's not deaf. But he doesn't understand why he's doing what he's doing. Yeah, I can't wash my hands. He doesn't think there's a mitzvah that says HaShamayim say to wash hands, and the reason we say Shulchan Aruch Siman is because Maran and Shulchan Aruch says, and the reason we're using a cup and that. He doesn't know that stuff. But still, Maran says it's kasher. Afilu ba'ofen shemaniach yadav vehem yotzkim hamayim al yadav. ולכתחילה, on an ideal level, צריך שיתכוון הנותן או הנותן לשם מצוות דת ידיים. It would be an ideal level that both of the people would be thinking about the mitzvah of washing hands. ויש מהאשכנזים, there are some אשכנזים שמחמירים בזה בקטן, that they're strict about this by a child. כל שאינו בן 6 שנים, any child that's not 6 years of age. ואף מנהגם, but even in their minhag, אם הקטן מכין המים והגדול יוצק בעצמו המים על ידיו, יש להקל אפילו חתחילה. Even according to them, if the child is the one who filled up the cup of water, but you're the one who poured it, then of course that's going to be okay. And we don't really care if the child is the one who fills the cup. Even according to the Ashkenazi custom, it's good enough as long as you're the one who poured it. So, we continue on page 134. מכל מקום, in any case, אף לספרדים המקילים בקטן פחות מבן 6, even for Sfaradim that are lenient even by a child under the age of 6, היינו דווקא כשנותן מתכוון לשם נטילה. That's specifically when the one who's washing is thinking about נטילה. נטילה מציקת גוי או אישה נידה. This is an important halacha. Chav Zayin. So it's the middle of the page 134. Chav Zayin. You see Moshe? Mutar, mi'ikar hadin. It's permitted according to the basic halacha. Liton mayim al yidei goy, that a non-Jew can wash your hands. Al yidei isha nida, or even from a woman who's nida. V'afilu be'ofen shemaniach yadav v'hem yotzkim ma'am yadav. And even if it's a situation not where they fill the cup and you pour, but where you put your hands out and they pour for you. But it's good to be strict about this. It's interesting that goes against Maran. fine. 135. ואם הגוי או הנידה מכינים לו את המים בכלי והוא יוצק בעצמו נידה ויש להקל בזה אפילו לכתחילה. If they're just preparing the water, but you're the one who's pouring the water, then it's okay to be lenient about that, even לכתחילה, even on an ideal level. Page 136. אף על פי שמותר מעיקר הדין ליטול ידיו ממים שיוצא כדי שהנידה, even though according to the basic halacha it's permitted for a person to have their hands washed by a lady who's a nidah, מכל מקום אין להקל בזה אלא כגון בביתו nidah. One should not be lenient in this unless it's his daughter, או אחותו, או אמו nidah, or his sister, or his mother. What does it mean? He's asking them if they're nidah? No. That's not simple. Rather, the assumption is that he doesn't know. He doesn't know what their status is, and therefore they could be. And by these people, he doesn't have to ask. I mean, it's okay. He doesn't have to stay away from it, because even so, it would be allowed. או באישה נידה יוצקת מים על ידי חברתה. אבל באשתו נידה אין להקל בזה כלל. But if a person's wife is a nidah, there's no room to be lenient about this at all. Why?
Because with the wife, you're supposed to be separated,
Why? For what purpose?
so you don't accidentally.
She doesn't come to
get
touch her.
a-
I mean, it's one of the halachot of separation between a husband and a wife or a nidah, that he should stay away from any kind of closeness. And this is one of those things. So even though by another lady, it could be his mother, it could be his sister, it could be somebody else, it doesn't really make a difference, because it's allowed. Maran says that a lady who's a nidah can wash your hands for you. But when it comes to his wife, one has to be careful about this. Meaning, one has to be stricter about his wife than with another person. What's the logic here?
Because if you're with a stranger, you're not going to become involved, or if you're white, you could be.
Correct. By his wife, he's used to touching her. It's something that's okay for him to do. So it could bring about a person. The person forgets. A person doesn't realize. Thank you very much. But with another lady, he would never touch her. So he would never touch her. So then there, that's not a problem. I mean, the distance doesn't have to be as great. But, big B, page 137. ולעניין אישה אחרת. But regarding another woman, נכון להחמיר בזה שלא תצוק מים על ידי איש כלל. It's improper anyways for a man to wash his hands on a woman. ואפילו היא טהורה, even if she's not a נידה. מפני שאין זה מדרכי הצניעות. It's not modest that way.
But she can wash his hands, but he can't.
No,
wash
either
her.
way. No, meaning it's not modest that this happens anyways. Rather, why is Maran saying this halakha then? He's not saying that a person can have his hands washed by a lady who's a nidah because that's what should be done. Rather, he's trying to tell you that you might think the whole purpose here is to purify your hands. How can a person who's not pure at the moment wash your hands? Says Maran, that has nothing to do with anything. And rather, that in that category, for that reason, it's allowed. But in terms of tzniut, it's not. Let's do a few footnotes. Let's look on page 136. In a footnote on the right side, titled Kuf Tet. Ayin b'ktubot. Look in Masech Ktubot on page 61a. She'ishto nidah, that a person whose wife is a nidah, asura b'hachatzat panav yadav reglav. is forbidden to wash his hands, his face, or his feet.
She's forbidden to wash the
She
clothes?
can't do that for him. Why would you do that for him? Why would you do that for him?
Why?
That used to be the relationship between the husband and wife. One of the things she did for him was washing his hands and his feet and his face. וכתב הרשב"א בתורת הבית, הרשב"א writes in his book תורת הבית. Who's רשב"א? רבי? שלמה? שלמה בן? Close. בן אדרת. He was one of the Sephardic Chachamim who led big wars against the students of the Rambam.
Really?
Yeah, one of the famous. Maran is probably this, and I don't know for sure, it's historical.
It's not very common.
Maran is from the first Sephardic Chachamim to quote the Rambam and the Rashba in the same sentence. Maran doesn't care. Maran, leave me out of these politics. I'm here to deal with halachot. I can't imagine that those from the Rambam's camp who didn't want to accept Maran's rulings, perhaps much of it had to do with this. Maran didn't care. So Rashba writes, "Dahainu afilu eina nogat bo." This is even if his wife is not touching him. Elahu rochetz v'hi mutzeket alav, whether he is being washed and she's just pouring it. I mean, he's washing his hands, but she's just pouring the water. I mean, she's the faucet. Says Rashba, that's still not allowed. V'chen pasku rishonim rabim, and a number of rishonim rule like that. Who? You see the Samach Dalet in Rashi's script? Follow it to the left. See Samach Dalet in the left in the Rashi script? V'chen k'tvu b'chidushay HaRamban. The Ramban agrees. U'v'chod nidad HaRamban. U'v'arosh. Rabbeinu who's the Rosh? Rabbeinu Asher, the father of the Torah. Very good. V'aridba. V'ha'meiri. Remember we had a Meiri, the famous Meiri, who said that Christians don't have the same status today as they used to have. We studied that a few years ago. ובפסקי מערך או זרוע ובשו"ת התשבץ ובספר אוהל מועד. These are the Rishonim that agree with the Rashba. That even if she is not touching him, the act of pouring water on his hands or any part of his body is forbidden while she's in Nidah. Ulam Haravia Chelek Aleph, but the Ravia in his first volume of his writings, Ve'o Zarua Chelek Aleph Katvu, they argue, Dahainu Dafka Rechitza Sheyesh B'Negiah. That which the Gemara Masech Ketubot says that she can't wash his hands, his face, or his feet, that's referring to if she's touching him. But if she's not touching him, it's allowed. Ulu Matam Dat Rabbeinu Yonah Shuva B'Shach Yoreda, and opposite them, you have Rabbeinu Yonah of Giron, yeah. Rabbi Yonatan is who? He's also
The French anti-Rambam.
he's one of the original anti-Rambamists.
But he did tshuva.
He did tshuva and wrote a book, Shaar Tshuva. Put himself in exile for what he did to the Rambam. He's quoted by the Shach and Yehuda. להחמיר אפילו כשמכינה לו המים לחיצה. Rabbi Yonah is strict, even if she just makes the water, prepares the water for him. I mean, even if she just fills the bathtub or fills the cup of water for washing his hands, he's not allowed to use it. It's a singular opinion. We're quoting. So right now we have three camps. Let's start with the least strict. You have the Ozalua, who say, and the Ravia, who say that so long as she's not touching him, she can wash him. The second opinion, which seems to be the majority opinion, is that no, she can't, even if she's not touching him, she can't pour the water on him. And the third opinion of Rabbi Yonah is even if she is not pouring the water and she's not touching him, but so long as she's the one who prepared the water, it's forbidden. Three opinions.
Is there any different status between the clean days and the
No.
But that's-
Ulu matam.
12 days then? Whatever.
וכן נראה דעת האשכול. This seems to be the opinion of the אשכול as well. וכתב נקן, רק כשמביאה המים שלו בפניו, the אשכול is lenient, and he says, if she brings the water and he's not there, let's say he's not home, or he's in another place, or that water he's allowed to use. But if she brings the water in front of him, there's a similar halakha in the laws of Nida. What's a similar halakha? What does it remind you of? There's another halakha like this.
Serving wine.
Okay, there's the okay, but give me something else that has to do with in front of him or not in front of him. Yoreda Kuf Tzadiheh. Maran writes that if she's making the bed
Oh, yeah.
in front of him, then it's not allowed. But if he's not there, then it might be allowed. Again, it has to do. What does all this have to do with to getting close, to feeling, wow, she did something very special for me. You know, someone going to get you water, you making you a bath, running the hot water, and putting. That's something that's endearing on a person. But Stam bringing the water from the well, he's not even home. Because of that, he's not allowed to use the water.
It's very subtle.
Why wouldn't
She's
you?
a nidah.
Yeah, but she's not going to do anything.
How do you know? That's the whole point of the halachot are to keep them away from each other.
The thing is that it creates a feeling of endearment and desire for intimacy between a couple. Even small things, like pouring your cup and doing...
Correct. This is the reason why Chachamim know human nature, and they know that people are. It's not that either of them are trying to do something wrong. It's human nature. People are. So, then he writes, אבל the Taz, in Yoreh De'ah writes, פסח להקל בזה כל שאינה יוצקת המים עליו ושאין כתב דרישה. The Taz argues with the Shach, and he says, no, we don't rule the Kurbanim on that. So long as she's not pouring the water on him, it's okay. Vayen לאדוני מורי הראשון ציון, and look in the writings of my father, the chief rabbi, this is the son of Rabbi Yosef, בספר טהרת הבית חלק ב', in his book on the laws of family purity, the second volume. Rabbi Yosef's works, 3 volumes, on the laws of Taharat Mishpacha. I don't know that anyone in the history of the world wrote a book as elaborate and sophisticated as he did in the laws of Taharat Mishpacha. Perhaps it's the only book of its kind.
Is that the book you gave me?
That's a silver. It's based off that. That's like a kitzur of that book. But this is Rabbi Yosef's. It's like one. You would actually maybe consider it one of it. If he had a magnum opus, it's not that. It's going to be a Biomil. But you could say also that this book is one of a kind. Even the people who refuse to study Rabbi Yosef, sometimes they mess up because we see their books and we see that they quote things that we know that nobody else knew before Rabbi Yosef wrote them. So it's nice that you pretend that you don't follow Rabbi Yosef, but we all know where you got your information from. I brought a book of Giur, the famous rabbi who wrote, sitting on a bedin of Giur, and people don't like him. But when he opened up his book, he said, "Oh, I see the author read my book too," because there's quotes in there that only he brought out. I'm his silent, you could tell. Uveshut Yabia Omer, Rabbi Yosef writes in his book on family purity and in his questions and answers, Yabia Omer, שפסק כן ההלכה, that he rules the halakha, שכל שאינה יוצקת המים עליו מותר. So long as she's not the one pouring water on him, it's okay. אבל ביוצקת המים, אסור אפילו נוגעת בו, but if she's pouring the water on him, even though she's not touching him, it's forbidden. ושכן כתבו אחרונים רבים, and many authorities agree with that opinion, that she can't pour it on him even if she's not touching him. ולפי זה, according to this, see that at the bottom of page 136, the bottom paragraph? צריך לומר, you must say, שמה שהתירו הראשונים, מורן השולחן ערוך, כהילת הידיים בשנידה, that which Maran and the Rishonim permit a man to wash his hands by a lady who's a nidah, lav hainu ishto nidah. It must be that it's not talking about his wife who's a nidah. It's talking about other people. But the reason I prefer to use the word nidah, very simple, is because the translation of impure, which is used in English, is not a correct translation of what it means to be impure. Is like someone's dirty, or they're not clean. All kinds of words. These are not the words that the Torah means when it refers to these terms. And so I don't have better words, so I'm just going to use the Hebrew words. This is my Torah, Tme'ah. These are not words of pure and impure, and it's a chava that we translate that way. וראיתי בספר מטה משה, as I saw in the book מטה משה, שהביא בשם השיבולי הלקט, הוא quotes in the name שיבולי הלקט, ואגו, and the ego, שכתבו בשם ספר תרומה, they quote in the name of the ספר תרומה. Can we track on how many people are quoting? How many people? This one's quoting from this one, is quoting from this one, is quoting from that. להתיר ליטול ידיו לאשתו נידה, that he allows one to have his hands washed by his wife who's a nidah. ותמה זה המטה משה, the מטה משה was bewildered by this. How could you say such a thing? Deha Ktubot, because we read above in Masech Ktubot on page 61a, Amur Shishto Nida Asura B'Chatmanav De'Odav, that his wife is not allowed to wash his hands, feet, and face. V'Katav HaRosh, and the Rosh writes, Dehainu Afilu Hu Rochetz V'Hi Motzeket, even if he's the one washing and she's just pouring. V'Sheken Kadvu Kama Rishonim Le'Sol B'Zeh, and there are a number of Rishonim that we read above that disagree. That agree with this. וכתב המטה משה להשיב לתרומה שלמצוות נטילת ידיים לא הביא דרך חיבה אלא גזירת מלך.
It's the decree of the king.
He says that the reason why the Sefer Truma says that a man's wife could wash his hands even though she's a nidah is because here this has nothing to do with chiba, with endearment, and everything to do with the fact this is a mitzvah from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And by mitzvot, we don't suspect that a person is going to use a mitzvah for something that's improper.
You're talking about like Natilia.
Yeah. That's a huge thing.
For Motzi.
Even the Gemara says a man's wife who's a nidah can't wash his hands. The Sefer Truma says no. By nitilat yadayim it's different. How could you say such a thing? Mateh Moshe answers, because here there's no endearment. Here this is a commandment of the king, and therefore we don't suspect something bad here. Umikol makom, and now I'm on page 137 in the top right column. The halakha kadam lachmir b'zeh. The Mateh Moshe anyways writes that one should be strict about this. That even though there's one who's lenient about it, you shouldn't rely on it. V'hine be'etzem ma shekatav hamateh Moshe. And essentially that, regarding that which what the Moshe wrote about, b'shem hashibulei haleket v'egor b'shem hatruma, in the name of the Truma, hine b'sefer Truma shlefanenu, in the Sefer Truma that we have today, the print that we have today, v'chen b'shibulei haleket v'sefer egor, and in the shibulei haleket and in the book of the egor, lo kadvu lakel be'ishto nida. It doesn't say there his wife who's a nida, ela be'isha nida, rather in a woman who's a nida. So you could say that they're referring to his daughter, or his mother, or whoever else. You have to understand here.
How would he know?
He wouldn't know. I just before you walked in, I explained. He's not asking. The assumption though is how can I know that she is or she isn't, and therefore I don't want any woman to wash my hands. No, even if she would be a nidah, it would be okay. This is the story. This is, by his wife, who he knows, there it's going to be a problem. Look how he words this sentence. In the books that we have in front of us, it doesn't say his wife. If it doesn't say in this book, and it doesn't say in that book, and it doesn't say in that book, so the mistake is probably not our mistake, it's probably the Mateh Moshe's mistake. If it doesn't say his wife in all of those books, so he doesn't want to write it like that. He doesn't want to say Mateh Moshe made a mistake, or he misread something. Rather, the editions that we have in front of us don't say what he said. It's it. It's a sign of respect. By the way, it's very important when you see people quote other people, even in books of halakha, to be very particular to see what did it actually say in the original source. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen a person quote something, and I go look at what it originally said. It doesn't really say what they said it says. Maybe that's what they thought it said, but it's not true.
It's a telephone.
It's correct. It's wrong. Which is why it's very important. In my book, I was very particular about this, to put as detailed of a source as I can, not just to say this rabbi said, what did this rabbi where? So you can go look up for yourself. If you need, don't trust me, go look. Could be I made a mistake. Someone even wrote me a letter after I published that book that there was a Rambam that he thinks I misunderstood. I welcome that, and that's why I put the source of that Rambam in my book, so that he could argue with me and say I misunderstood the Rambam. אכן בחידושי ריבבן, in the books of the Rivavan, כתב בשם ספר התרומה להקל באשתו נידה. But there's another rabbi who also has a source. He says in the Sefer Truma it's talking about his wife. So now you have two rabbis that have the same source, saying differently than what we have in front of us. So he's not alone. ואולי יש לומר שהתרומה סבירה לי בזה כמו שכתב הרב יה ועוזרו דווקא בחיצה שבנגיעה בגופו של החמיר. Maybe you could also answer of the Sefer Truma. How could the Sefer Truma say that a person's wife was a nidah can wash his hands? Maybe he holds like the Raviyah and the Ozarua who say that so long as she's not touching him, that she can wash his hands. Maybe that's why they say that he's referring to his wife, because even by his wife they know the Sefer Truma would be lenient. ומה שכתב המטה משה ליישב תשעה נטילת ידיים של מצוות ולא בידי חיבה. He said, and that which the Mateh Moshe writes that by a mitzvah washing, as opposed to regular washing, there's not a problem because it's for a mitzvah. Ken katav gam b'Kaf HaChaim. The Kaf HaChaim writes the same thing. Vayan od b'seven Netivei Am. Look at the book Netivei Am. V'shuv raiti b'agot sefer minhagim l'Rabbeinu Isaac Tirna shevi b'shem Maharil shektav l'achmir b'zeh b'ishton nida. So he quotes another Sephardic source that says that a person's wife can wash their hands when they're in nida because it's a mitzvah. But then he quotes another rabbi that disagrees, and he says the Maharil. Who's the Maharil?
Not the Maharal.
Not the Maharil. The Maharil is from the Luria family. He is probably the number one source for almost all of the Ashkenazi customs that exist. The Maharil, essentially all of Minhagei Ashkenaz that you know, come from the Maharil. One of the more famous ones in this section of Shulchan is not to wear talit until one gets married. It's the Maharil.
Well, Chabad do that, right?
All the Ashkenazim except for the real Ashkenazim. What I mean, except for the Germans. The Germans wear talit at bar mitzvah.
Yeah.
So they're the real Ashkenazim. But everybody else, what you call Ashkenazim, they don't wear talit until bar mitzvah. ומכל מקום לעניין הלכה, בוודאי שיש להחמיר בזה באשתו נידה. This is bottom line, הלכה. It's proper to be strict about this regarding his wife. וכן פסק בעטרת זקנים. That's what they read in עטרת זקנים, וכתב לבאר מה שאמרו כנידה. דהיינו ביתו נידה, it said here it's referring to his daughter. When it says that נידה can wash his hands, it's his daughter. והובא מחצית השקם, כתב בשולחן ערוך הגאון ביזלמן, the first Lubavitch Rebbe writes the same thing, ואין פורים מגדים, שכתב לבאר מה שאמרו כאן אישה נידה. then אישה מחברתה נידה. There they want to say it means that a lady took water from her friend who was a nida, and that's how she knows that she was a nida, because it's her friend. וכן נראה מדברי הבן איש חי, the Ben Ish Chai seems to write something similar. וביאר מה שאמרו כנידה באחותו וביתו. The Ben Ish Chai again reads Shulchan Aruch here as referring to his daughter or his mother, not his wife.
You don't see him quoted very much.
Who?
The Ben Ish Chai.
The Ben Ish Chai and the Rabbi Yosef family have clashes. So you won't see him quoted as much as you think he'd be quoted.
Yeah, it's the first time I actually remember. Since we
He's been
started.
quoted before, but you're right, not as much as you think.
Is it also because of he brings Kabbalah down? But then Rabbi Rabbi Yosef also occasionally brings Kabbalah.
Yeah, well, these words, I don't stick my head in them. There's got enough of it. Then the second footnote that I want to do is about, so even though it's not his wife, a person should also be careful not to wash his hands by any other lady. Let's read footnote Lamed at the bottom of page 137.
What about household help? You know, like let's say you're in a senior.
I'm going to read.
They cover everything. Any situation that you can dream of, they cover.
הנה עטרת זקנים כתב להחמיר באישה אחרת אפילו אינה נידה. The עטרת זקנים writes that even one should be strict even by a lady who's not his wife. And even she's not a נידה. והובא במחצית השקל, that's quoted in מחצית השקל, וכן נראה מדברי הפי מגדים, it seems that the פי מגדים agree, שכתב דבר מה שאומרו כאן אישה נידה, דהיינו אישה מחברתה נידה, ולא כתב דבר דהיינו אישה אחרת שאינה אשתו. It says you find the Pri Megadim is the one who says that it's a lady who got water from her friend who was in Nida. So what's the problem with this lady? Nothing. It's not sanua to take water from her. וכן משמע בחסד אלפים, and it's also apparently that in the Chesed Alafim. Who wrote Chesed Alafim? Rabbi Eliezer Papo. Who wrote? Who wrote? Who wrote? Pele Yoetz, which we learn in Shabbat.
Oh,
God.
It's a book of halakha of the Pele Yoetz. Okay, let me tell you something. I told you this a number of years ago. I'll tell you again now. It will be a very wise thing for you that every time you hear a rabbi's name or the name of a book, write it down in a notebook, go home tonight or tomorrow morning, and research all of these people, who they are, and write a note. And then to make for yourself a little notebook with all the names of the Chachamim. What it will do for you, I can't convince you to do it, so I know that many people are going to listen to me and they're not going to listen to me, and it's going to be their fault, their loss. When you learn Torah and you realize, wait a second, this is the same Chesed Alafim that we study every Shabbat. This is the same Pele Yoetz. Oh, now you know what years people lived. You know which camp they belonged to. Were they pro-Rambam, anti the Rambam? Were they Sfaradim? Were they Ashkenazim? Were they Germans? Were they... your whole world of Torah starts to make a lot more sense. If not, you're like a blind person in the dark. What do you know? For you, Ben Ish Chai and the Rambam are the same person. What do you know? Sounds the same. Orach Chaim, Ben Ish Chai. What's the difference in the Orach Chaim and the Or HaChaim? Or the Shulchan Aruch and the Aruch HaShulchan and the Erech HaShulchan? Those are three different people. Shulchan Aruch was written by Man, Rabbi Yosef Karo. Aruch HaShulchan was written by
The Reef. Rosh or the Reef?
Aruch HaShulchan was written by
Yes.
Rabbi Michal Halevy Epstein.
Huh?
You know, his son wrote a book, Torah Tmima, Rabbi Baruch Epstein. He was one of the giants of Ashkenaz. In fact, in most yeshivot, they prefer you study Aruch HaShulchan more than you study Mishnah Berurah. It's a more authoritative halachic work for Ashkenazim. He's from a Sephardic family. He writes in his introduction that his family's from Spain. They used to be Benishti. That's how they became Epstein. They found refuge after the Spanish Inquisition in Poland. That's where their family stayed. So they identified as Ashkenazim, but they knew that in their history they were from Sfarad, from Spain proper. The son was a very special chacham. Interesting history. And what was the Erech HaShulchan? Shulchan Aruch Aruch HaShulchan is Rabbi Michal Halevy Epstein. And the Erech HaShulchan is a man by the name of Rabbi Yitzchak Tayyib. Or Tayyib, I don't know how you pronounce it properly. He was a chacham from North Africa. Very strict. Very strict. Everything in Halakha is strict. Halapirz likes to quote him. Halapirz's rule is whenever Rabbi Yitzchak Tayyib is lenient, follow him. Because that means he found no way to be strict. Meaning when he's lenient, you can be lenient too. Don't be afraid. It's very important to come. In fact, I used to own Shulchan. Those are from my box of books that were lost in Korea somewhere in the ocean. I'll get my copies again. It's 2 volumes, but it's important. 2013, I shipped back my whole library of books from Israel, and a number of crates were lost in the ocean. And I got back some books in Korean with a customs declaration that books were lost in Korea.
What percent?
I don't know which part of Korea. I don't know where in Korea.
What percent of books?
2 or 3 boxes, which you might think is not
That's
a lot,
of books.
but compared to the rest of my library, it's not a lot. What happens though in my library is oftentimes I have books that you can't buy somewhere else. So if I lost it, that means it's going to take me a number of years till I can find it back. When I go to Israel, sometimes I'll see a book. Wow, I haven't seen this in 2008, and I'll buy it and I'll bring it to my library. It happens. So why did I get you stuck over here? Chesed Alafim is written by the Peliyotz. Chesed Alafim is known also as Harav HaChasid, the righteous rabbi. The Ben Ish Chai quotes him extensively. The Ben Ish Chai views himself as a spiritual continuation of the Peliyotz.
Interesting.
It seems that the Peliyotz would say that even by washing your hands by another lady who's not an Nidah is forbidden. Ulam b'Shulchan Aruch Hagon Rabbi Zalman, but in the Shulchan Aruch of the genius Rabbi Zalman, who's that? Who's the genius Rabbi Zalman?
Not Rabbi Shneur Zalman.
Yeah, Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi.
Genius, they call him.
The first one, that's the Sfaradim always call him the genius Rabbi Zalman, the Gaon. They always call him a Gaon. And oftentimes you'll see they don't call him Shneur. For that name, they didn't really know what to do with that name. Some say the name was added later. For another reason also, that we make acronyms in books a lot. And they would write Rabbi and then Shin Zayin, which in Kabbalistic Hebrew refers to something not proper. It would be a derogatory title for Rav Shneur Zalman. So they choose, for his sake, to skip one of his names and only have the Zayin. That way it doesn't come out derogatory. Katav le'akel b'zeh b'mesharet hashonidah. Rav Shneur Zalman writes that one can be lenient with his servant. She washes his hands, even if she's a nidah, she can wash his hands. ומרן החידה בספר מורה באצבע, מרן החידה writes, להקל ליטול ידיו ומשרתת יהודית שאינה נידה. That one can be lenient to have his hands washed by one of his maidservants who's Jewish, but she's not a nidah.
So I always thought that the Shulchan Aruch of Baal Tanya was very specialized for Chabadniks.
Chabad officially doesn't follow the Shulchan Aruch of...
Oh, come on.
No, for real. I'm not sure. It's not.
So
Don't believe me.
It's not min.
They believe that this book was not written for Chabadniks, but was written for general Hasidic consumption, and they follow the directives of what they call the House of the Rebbe. Whichever Rebbe was at the time, his directives override that of the Shulchan Aruch. Meaning, oftentimes you'll find there are contradictions between Rabbi Shneur Zalman's Shulchan Aruch and his Sidur, his notes in the Sidur. And their whole thing is the Shulchan Aruch he wrote for the population, and the Sidur he wrote for them. Sfaradim study his book a lot. Ufsefer Yefed Alev, in the book Yefed Alev, Vivi Divrei Chida, he quotes the Chida. Remember who's the Chida? Rabbi Chaim, Yosef, David, Azulai. He is one of the giants of Morocco. Chida is Chaim, Yosef, David, Azulai. His rabbi is a man by the name of the Or HaChaim. Or HaChaim, Rabbi Chaim ben Atar. Look, in one night you get half of Jewish history. Rabbi Chaim ben Atar was a dear friend who never met, but was a dear friend of the Baal Shem Tov. One of the first Sephardic connections between the Hasidic movement and the Sephardic movement. The Or HaChaim HaKadosh tried to meet the Baal Shem Tov, and it didn't happen. And they both said that if they would have met, the Mashiach would have come right. That must be the reason why they didn't meet each other. But they say that Baal Shem Tov was once washing his hands on Friday night, and he started crying. So why are you crying? He said Rav Chaim ben Atar passed away. He said, how do you know Rav Chaim ben Atar passed away in Morocco? Like, how do you know? In Israel, wherever he was. And he said because there's a secret of Netilat Yadayim, a secret of washing your hands for bread. And every generation has only one person knows the secret. And that secret was just revealed to me. He said, and I know that the only person who had the secret before me was Rav Chaim ben Atar. So if they just revealed to me from heaven the secret of Netilat Yadayim, I know that he's no longer among the living. Motzei Shabbat, they found out that Rav Chaim ben Atar had passed away. And there are some people that show up, we don't follow this. Who are you? Relax a little bit. Slow down. These people that you're talking about that you don't follow, you don't care what they say, you don't care what halakha says, these people are greater than anybody you ever thought about. They're almost not human beings. וכתב שאשרי מי שיכול להיזהר שלא לטעון מאישה זרה אפילו טהורה. He says, they fell in love in the name of the Chidan. Quotes the Chidan and he says, how praiseworthy would it be for a man to never wash his hands from a woman at all? It doesn't make a difference what her status is. ומשמע כן דסביר עלי שמן הדין יש להקל באישה זרה שנידה. וים בבן איש חי שהביא להלכה מה שכתבו פוסקים שטוב להיזהר בנידה. וכתב דהו הדין מאישה אחרת אפילו אינה נידה. So the Ben Ish Chai says this applies to נידה, but how much more so to a lady who's not your wife, regardless of what her status is. Today, nowadays, nowadays, especially when there's all kinds of problems with tzniut, it would be a good thing for people to be careful about this. Look in the Rambam, the laws of forbidden relationships in chapter 21. And in the Tur Shulchan Aruch, and Even Ezra, chapter 21, also interesting. Shekatvu, that they write, Asur, lehishtamesh b'isha klal. It's forbidden to use a woman at all. Ben gdola, ben ktana, whether she's an adult or she's a child. Ben shifcha, ben meshucheret, whether she's a maidservant or she's a free woman. Shem evalidei rules that he shouldn't have any improper thoughts. Be'eze shimush amur, which use are they to use a woman? Chitat panav v'yadav v'reglav, that means washing hands, feet, and face. והוסיף הטור והשולחן ערוך שם, the Tur and Shulchan Aruch right there, דהיינו אפילו ליצוק לו מים לכות פניו ורגליו, אפילו אינה נוגעת בו. That this means that a man should never have a woman pour water on him. And look in Kaf HaChaim and look at the writings of Rabbi Yosef, he says. So from here you see the whole conversation we just had is really moved, because regardless of her status, the bottom line is both Rambam and Shulchan Aruch say that a person should never have his hands washed by a woman at all.
Including one's wife when she's clean.
No, there it's not.
Sorry,
Once she's not an idah, his wife, they can do whatever they want. bottom line is, it's really not proper that these halachot should be taught now all the time in public. I don't ever speak about these areas once in a while. And I feel that in our generation there are things that we have to problem. The problem is we live in America. Tomorrow is the 4th of July. We give thanks to this country, Mamash, for being a Malchut Shel Chesed, a kingdom of kindness towards Am Yisrael. Has done good for Am Yisrael. It's taken care of Am Yisrael. Has allowed us the freedoms to worship as Jews and Am Yisrael. You can never take that away from this country, so long as it continues to follow that path. Just because that's true, though, doesn't mean we didn't learn bad things from being in a place that the values don't always match that of our Torah. There's a certain freedom, a certain openness that, yes, people come to America for, but we acquired in our journey here in Chutz La'aretz that they're not necessarily Jewish values. In the area of tzniut, in the area of men and women, husbands and wives, other people's wives, other people's husbands, this country has taught us a lot of very bad habits, and I'm calling them bad habits is being very kind, because they're not bad habits, they're just bad. I want to read to this halakha. And when I read here, nobody should be offended. These are halachot that are written in Shulchan Aruch, and you're going to find. The Ben Ish Chai writes that if a person does business and they travel, how wise would it be for them if they never travel to Ashkenaz in their whole life? Yeah, wherever Jews live in Europe. Arei Edom, he calls the cities of the Christians, he calls them. He says because over there the breaches of tzniut are so profound that it's almost impossible for a person to be saved, even in the Jewish community, from the breaches of tzniut that happen there. Today, in revisionist history, we like to purport. Someone recently told me, "No, you Sephardim, you are so lenient about tzniut. We heard that you guys wear sandals and you don't wear stockings." I'm thinking to myself, like, it's not a normal conversation I have with a person. Like, what is it? We wear stockings or sandals or whatever else. But for someone to tell me that in our countries we were very lenient about tzniut when the opposite was true. You're talking about hair covering, sometimes even face coverings. You're talking about men and women didn't even interact with each other. They didn't go to alone in the streets together. And then Ashkenaz, last night I was reading a letter from a Hasidic Rebbe. He said he doesn't even know one person in his whole country who covers her hair. It's not a thing. It was not done. But today, revisionist history has it the other way around. Somewhere in the shtetl, everybody was modest, and today, it's not true. And you're going to see now what the Ramah writes. So just read. It says Maran Shulchan Aruch Even HaEzer, chapter 21, halakha 5. Hey. This whole chapter of halachot is the halachot of staying away from forbidden relationships. Asur lihishtamesh b'isha klal. It's forbidden to use a woman at all. Okay, we just read this. Ben gdola ben ktana, whether an adult or a child. Ben shivcha b'meshuchelet, whether she's a servant or she's a free woman. Shema yavol lidei hirur avira be'ezish behuava, because he might come to think of doing an avira. Be'ezish shimush amru, which use are they talking about? Amru b'chitzat panav yadav raglav, washing his face, his hands, or his feet. Afilu litzok lo mayim lichotz panav yadav raglav. Even if she's just going to pour water for him, so that he can wash his own face or hands or feet. Afilu eina nogad bo, even if she's not touching him, it's forbidden. V'atzat hamita, or making his bed, b'panav, in front of him, umzigat akos, or pouring him something to drink. Now let me explain carefully. In the Rambam is pretty clear that when we talk about pouring, like a woman is not to pour for her husband a glass of something to drink when she's a nidah, mi'ikar hadin, the basic halakha there seems to be regarding wine. Not about water, not about apple juice, not about orange juice, not about some wine. Wine is considered a beverage that you would offer to somebody. It's, pour somebody a glass of water is not something everyone does for everybody. But tea, okay, right? I mean, these things are allowed according to the basic reading of halakha. Many poskim have added that all kinds of pourings are already, especially a tea. Or can I make you a coffee? These are certain things that are not. I'm not gonna lie to you. My preference is that if we have a room of people, that the guys should pour for the guys, and ladies for ladies. There should never have to be the other way. Sometimes people, here, the rabbi, I got you a cup of water. What are you gonna do? No, pour it on the floor. What do you do? You also have to be a human being, right? You can't be an animal. You have to be a decent person. So that's fine. There's who to rely on here. But it would be wise to never be in that situation in the first place. For people to, they say by the Pesach Seder, men should pour for men, and women should pour for women. That's not only by the Pesach Seder. That's the whole year is like that. That's why by the Pesach Seder, I hate this minhag of pouring for people. I wish nobody pour. I don't let people today. So maybe going on 5 years, I don't let anybody pour me wine by Pesach Seder. I don't let you. Let me pour my own wine. I'm not really a king tonight. We're just pretending it's for one night. We're putting on a good show. Yesh omrim, some say, Dehu hadin b'achila. Then I'm reading the Ramah. This is the Ramah. So now everything Maran said. Now is minhag Ashkenaz. Yesh omrim, some say, Dehu hadin b'achila ima b'kara nam yasu b'chol erva kmo b'shto nida. There's a halakha that a husband and a wife cannot eat from the same bowl if she's nida, the same plate. He says some say that applies to any other person who's not his wife. Meaning he can't eat with her from the same bowl or from the same plate. From the same. No, what we said before was there's a special status by somebody who's his wife because they're used to being together. With a random person, then the halachot would be different. V'yesh mekilim b'chol elu. It says, and some are lenient about all of these things. Delo asru dvarim shel chiba, ena b'ishto nida. He says that many are lenient in this regard because the only things that Chachamim forbid you from doing that might come to that are endearing, that might come, is only with his wife who's a nida. But with another person, it's okay. The Yesh Omrim, and additionally, some say, I mean, according to Maran, is this a question? It's not a question. You can't eat with her. But according to the Ramah, there's an opinion that says that it's only by his wife. The second opinion, on top of that, Yesh Omrim, some say, V'chol zeino asur rak b'makom yichud. It's only in a place where it's private, where it's two people alone together. ב'makom sherov b'nei adam mitzuyim kagon b'merchatz. In a place where it's very public, it's okay. So let's say at the Shabbat table, or it's at the synagogue, or it's in the store. Over there, it's not a big deal. That's not the example the Ramah gives. The example gives, you're not going to believe what I'm reading you. So I'm going to tell you go home and read it for yourself. You're not going to believe me that this is considered the ultra-orthodox opinion of the Shulchan Aruch. It's not Maran, but it's the Ramah. He says, but in a public place, kagon b'mirchatz, like in the bathhouse.
Co-ed?
Mutar lirchotz migoyim shvachot. It's permissible to be bathed by non-Jewish women. V'chen nohagim, and this is our custom.
Where?
In Ashkenaz. Ramah says this is our custom. By the way, don't be surprised. Sometimes you hear from old Jews that come from, in Europe we did, and then they say, come on, you guys, the problem is because you didn't know. And sometimes they really did know, and people came to America, they changed the halachot first. A stricter opinion.
What would a woman be doing in a man's bathhouse?
They're attendants, like a person goes to a massage or to a spa or to somewhere else.
Yeah,
You tell me that you don't know any men that have gone to a spa somewhere in Acapulco, I don't know where they're going.
Yeah, and
People
then
do this all the time.
They had on the Lower East Side, the Schwitzes had women pouring buckets of water and hitting them with branches and stuff. Yeah,
Okay.
all the old Jews used to do that.
Really?
Some still do. Oh yeah.
V'yesh omrim,
Schwitz. Yeah,
Dechol
yeah,
sheino
no,
oseh derech chiba. That anything that is not done out of endearment, רק כוונתו לשם שמיים, it's only for the sake of heaven מותר. לכן נהגו להקל בדברים אלו. And therefore, it's the custom in Ashkenaz to be lenient about all of these things. ויש אומרים, and some say, דאין לנהוג אפילו עם אשתו בדברים של חיבה. And I spoke about this on Shabbat. Remember I was asked this Sudash Shit, I was asked this question. That a person shouldn't do anything endearing with their wife in public. Any displays of affection in public. But I hold very strongly by this halakha. A person should be very careful about this. I know it's from the Ramah, so you could be Ashkenazi a little bit sometimes too. What's the problem? And then what's the example he gives? An amazing example, because that's not what you think when you think a public display of affection. כגון לעיין בראשה אם יש לו קינים בפני אחרים. לעיין ברשת. Meaning she shouldn't be checking his hair for lice in front of other people, because that's like it's an act of endearment.
That's going to be a difficult one for me.
What were you saying about monkeys again?
What?
What were you saying about monkeys again? How they groom each other.
Man, I'm going to have to tell my wife. She's not here for licensing.
Not in public.
This is so crazy. Really.
Amazing stuff.
They quote here, but the Vilna Gaon quotes that you find Avigail. Avigail, I believe this is with David HaMelech, but don't get me cut because I don't remember every pasuk of Tanakh by heart. I'm not far from that. Abigail says she's going to wash the feet of David HaMelech. Abigail, because that was something that was, she was in a position of a servant at that point. That was something that was the Vilna Gaon's trying to bring a biblical source for this Ashkenazi custom.
Nobody's a king.
But there was, what is it, Shunava?
Yes, there's a lot of things that are going on in Tanakh that if you try to make fit into Shulchan Aruch, you're going to spend a lot of time in your life working it out. What you find here is a completely different approach in Halakha, in Sfarad, and in Ashkenaz. And you don't have to be scared to say that Ashkenaz, the world was a lot more open than it was in Sfarad. Some of the things listed here, you still can't do in a Muslim country. Meaning, that's still considered unthinkable. The place where you are, not that it changes halakha, but it affects the way you look at certain things. There are some things that American, really Orthodox Jews do, that if Israeli, really Orthodox Jews saw them doing, they wouldn't be able to. How could they do? Like an example? Almost everybody that I know that's religious and lives in America goes to drink things in Starbucks.
Mm-hmm.
In Israel, it's unfathomable to go to a not kosher establishment and order a coffee where they serve meat. Starbucks is not a coffee shop. Starbucks is a restaurant. Starbucks has ham and cheese sandwiches, bacon and breakfast and eggs in the morning. You're gonna go there and order yourself a cup of coffee? Can you imagine? They tell you can't go to McDonald's to go to the bathroom. But Starbucks, you go have coffee. What kind of coffee? Not just like black coffee. Frappuccino. There's all kinds of grande, venti, whatever you have. People, it's normal for them. If you would tell a person in Israel, hey, let's go to Starbucks, and say, is it kosher? What do you mean it's kosher? The coffee is kosher. They say, are you guys, like, you keep kosher in your house? Are you sure? Imagine someone in Israel, let's go to some not kosher. In fact, in Israel, to the contrary. In Israel, the McDonald's that are not kosher, the ice cream have a kosher supervision from the chief rabbinate, and people won't go there because it's not kosher establishment. It has supervision on the ice cream. The chief rabbinate actually supervises the wall that has ice creams on it, and not the wall that has meat on it. And they won't go there. But American Jews go to Starbucks. They don't even think twice about it.
Right.
We'll go have a business meeting at a restaurant with our non-Jewish coworkers. We won't eat. We'll get something to drink, like a glass of something, whatever they have. We'll drink that. Listen, you enter not kosher food establishments? It's a really normal thing for religious Jews, even in New York. And they go now, summer camps, they go to baseball games or football games, or they go to stadiums. In Israel, you're going to go to a non-Jewish sports game? What are you, a Roman? You're a Greek? What are you, in the Colosseums? Where do you come from? I mean, they can't even imagine such a thing. Now, does halakha say you can't go watch a baseball game? Halakha doesn't say. The culture of how Judaism looks in America and the culture of how Judaism looks in Israel are very different. On Purim, you see people, they come here dressed like vampires, like Satan, like some come dressed like Catholic priests with crosses. In Israel, they would never imagine to dress up like in some kind of crazy vampire costume. That would never happen.
Cross-dressing.
Yeah, man and woman switching clothes.
Because they don't have Halloween there.
Which is definitely the
Here in America,
They don't have. In fact, in Israel, you see something else. In Israel, there's famous pictures of Hasidim wearing Santa Claus outfits on Purim. Why?
Because they don't know nothing.
They have no idea that this has anything to do with Christmas. They've never seen Santa Claus before. They grew up their whole life in Israel, and someone imported these costumes. Someone imported these costumes from China. It's very cheap. And you see a whole family of Hasidim dressed up like Santa Claus.
What?
But they don't know. They've never seen a Christmas tree in their life. They don't have TVs. They don't have internet. They don't read a non-Jewish newspaper. They live in a little ghetto, and they dress like Santa Claus. They think they see the package. It looks like some funny Hasidic Rebbe. Big white beard, long coat, velvet, This is exactly what you're seeing happening here.
cultural influence.
Maybe it's not Santa Claus, maybe it's the Persian one.
I want to read you another halakha. If I'm already here and I only have a few more minutes, it's an important area of Shulchan Aruch to know. We're gonna get there. We didn't get there yet. En shalim b'shlom isha klal. Period. It's forbidden to ask a woman how she's doing at all. Ramad doesn't argue here. Afilu al-yedei shaliach, even through a messenger. I'm not going to ask directly. In a sense, I want to ask her how she's doing. Afilu al-yedei bala asur lishlach ladivrei shlomim. Even through her husband, you can't say, hey, send my regards to your wife. Aval mutar lishol lebala ech shloma. But if he's having a conversation with the husband, he can say, hey, how's your wife feeling? I mean, you can inquire through him about his wife. But the relationship of going to a person, how you doing, how's everything going, that is an improper relationship. And to do it through the husband doesn't help. By the way, that sometimes it's even worse. Why are you talking to me about my wife so much? Why do you care about my wife? If someone will ask me how my wife is doing, and they're a man, I'll never answer them. I don't answer them. How's your wife doing? None of your business. I know I sound like I'm a primitive monkey who lives in this. I got it. It's a very hard halakha to follow.
Yeah.
I'll tell you why.
It's easy for it.
It's part of the rabbi job. You ask the person, hey, how are you? How's everything? When I delved into this halakha with Rabbi Peretz, I can't tell you everything that we spoke about there, but the bottom line is, it's about forming a relationship. And that's something that's not proper. You see a person in the street. Rabbi Mazuz was famous for saying that you can't be so religious that when you see a lady in the street, don't say, good morning, or, shalom lechem. Oh, but it says here you can't even say hello. He said, don't say in Shulchan Aruch that you have to be crazy. It's not Shulchan Aruch to be a human being. So what does this mean? It means that you shouldn't be stopping in the grocery store talking to the lady, hey, how you doing, what do you do, where are you from, that's not your business. But to say, hello, how are you, Shabbat Shalom, this is a normal thing that people do to each other, and that's not a problem here. That could even go in the category that, now it could be you live in a place, by the way, when I go to New York, you better believe that I don't wish ladies in the street Shabbat Shalom, they can kill you for that.
No one
And
rushes
so-
to Shabbat Shalom
Well,
in New
even
York.
the men don't say Shabbat Shalom to you, so it's fine like that. No, but there are communities where even at the table to say, hey, can you pass me something that's, whoa, how dare he speak across the table. That's the lady section over there.
What a mechitza.
There are mechitzot. I've been to Shabbat table, I've seen mechitzot.
Oh, come on.
For real.
Oh.
I've never.
I could take you, you want to go?
I've been to
No,
Hasidic
in
places where the women
Shaar.
are in the kitchen, not eating,
Yeah,
and men are
yeah,
at the
and I'm
table.
showing myself. Well, my wife and I went on our third date. It was at the rabbi who set us up. And so I came to their house. They had this table. I can't tell you. They live in a big house. They were very wealthy. Once upon that before. This table, how long is a table? You could probably fit like 18 people on each side of the table.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a long wooden table. Very nice wood. And so he sat over here, and he put me to sit right next to him over here. And then his wife sat on the other end of the room, on the other side of the table, and my wife sat where Barry is sitting. And, like, we're on our third date. Officially, this is a date. Hello over there! I got my binoculars today. We got
Text. It's not Shabbat. You can
No,
text them.
Shabbat. And the best part is, you can't even ask, can you pass something down the table?
It's too far.
They have their own cholent on that side of the table, and the own kugel that goes to the lid. And it's 4 of us in this house. It's not like there's 20 men over here, 20 ladies over there. This is his wife. She can't pass him the cholent. So some people lost their minds a long time ago. This is already it's out of not normal. But Maran is not telling you things that are crazy, and I'll tell you the truth. It sounds first, your initial Western, you get offended. You get, what do you mean? You can't say hello to a lady? What are you, Arabs? No, I'll tell you what we are. And that's what people always tell me. I think everything the Arabs do is bad.
It's nuance.
There are problems in our culture. You just have to open up your TV. You have to go check out go sit in a divorce court once in your life. Ask about, I had a neighbor once when they were growing up here in Old Court. The neighbor up the street from us, they moved in like the perfect American couple. 2 kids, they looked the right way. They had a little white picket fence. They had like everything you could think about. They go to the beach exactly at 10 a.m. on Saturday mornings, and they all have matching towels and bathing suits. The picture perfect family. 18 years. Come back from yeshiva, and the lady's in my sukkah with my mother. She's not Jewish. She came to tell my mother that her husband left with her best friend.
Oh,
They used to go family vacations together, and he just got up, he left, said, keep the house, keep the car, keep the kids, I don't care, I'm off to the next part of my life.
Oh, wow.
What do you see here?
Having a Jewish family here in Powell.
Right, it happens all the time in every place.
Every day.
What is it here? My wife has friends. They come sometimes for Shabbat, they come to visit, we meet them in Israel. hello, how are you? Elchanan, do you want to go eat pizza? Am I being antisocial? No, I don't really want my wife's friends to be my friends. I have one wife, I have one lady that I know. Why do I need more friends? I go with my friends. I have a dear friend of mine. He's my friend. My wife is his friend. And he's my best friend in the whole world. And we go to his house. We sit together. We hey, how are the kids? But then comes a certain point of the meal. I sit with my friend and we talk. His wife doesn't feel ignored. She has my wife there. We're not sitting in the other room from each other in some strangely unnatural way. But we both know that when we get together, we're not getting together as two couples that are hanging out together. It's me with my friend and my wife with her friend, and we, Baruch Hashem, our kids are playing together. Yes, we talk to each other. Yes, we're eating together. But a person has to be normal, but also be logical. The problems in our generation of men and women that are running away with each other again, leaving each other, it's not normal anymore. It's not normal.
The amount of scandals.
Absolutely.
Every day. Another scandal.
If people would be careful about these things, you don't understand what Rabbi Mordechai Eliyahu, alav shalom, when he came to England, the Queen of England put out her hand.
Mm-hmm.
And he told her, I'm sorry, but I don't shake ladies' hands. The secular media in Israel went crazy. The British media went crazy. Who's the chief rabbi I think he is? He doesn't shake the Queen's hand. Like, it's an honor if the Queen puts out her hand to you. Shouldn't shake every guy's hand. He was the chief rabbi. She was showing him respect. In Israel, they were already saying, what, you sent this Iraqi rabbi over there to embarrass us, a primitive baboon from... This is their writing. You couldn't send the cultured Ashkenazi chief rabbi. You had to send the Sephardic one with his turban and his sandals. And didn't even wear sandals, but it was part of the screaming. The next day, the Queen of England put out a letter to Rabbi Mordechai Eliyahu saying that she apologizes for embarrassing him in public. And that even in her family, there used to be an etiquette that men and women didn't touch each other. And that she's very happy to see that there are still gentlemen on this earth that follow this protocol.
I hope we publish the letter for everybody to see.
You understand? So whenever they used to ask, it was HaShamayim who would answer this question. He said, listen, you're saying you meet a really important woman. How can you not shake her hand? He said, who's more important than the Queen of England? Who's more important than Rabbi Mordechai Eliyahu? Are you more important than him? Is the lady you're going to shake her hand more important than... No, it's okay. It's a world that you live in. It's not as scary. I tell people all the time. And my wife gets jealous. They laugh and they put out their hand. I'm really not joking. This is the kind of thing that I keep for my wife. At first I think I'm weird. Anybody who thinks about it for more than 2 seconds, I still, to date, no one has ever been upset at me except for one guy. He was a non-observant Jew, and he lost his mind that I'm a Muslim. And that I'm acting like a Muslim, and our faith, what do you mean? I said, what do you know about your faith? I don't even know. Like, what are you telling me? What about our faith? What do you know about our... I want to ask him what he knows about Islam too, but that was already going to be a very long conversation with him. But never in my life have I received a negative... In fact, some people think about it, and I say, wow, that's impressive. Like, it's not for us, but it's impressive. What's the big deal? And I have to be honest, I don't work in a profession where I'm in a business, I'm in an office, I'm closing deals, I'm shaking hands, and there are exceptions to these rules. We mentioned doctors, people that they're part of their professional trade is using their hands. There are all kinds of exceptions in these categories. My wife, we were pregnant with Elchanan. We were in a clinic where there were 2 doctors. One Jewish doctor, he was a man, and one very not Jewish doctor who was a woman. And this Jewish doctor, for the life of him, could not understand why we Jews wouldn't go to him. Like, why are you boycotting the Jewish doctor? And my wife had to sit down with him and just like, listen, we love you as if you want to come to our house for a night, you're more than welcome to. But your partner is a woman, and halakha allows you to go to a medical professional who's a man if there are no women that are as competent as him. But I think that your partner is equally to you. You both own this practice together. If you think you're better than your partner, then you could let us know. But for right now, you seem to treat each other as equals. So why would I choose you over her? And he understood. Actually, he understood. An interesting conversation about medical professionals. It was a big Kiddush Hashem, the conversation we had. And Baruch Hashem, this is not something that's considered so strange.
I think the other end of the equation is not understood either in this culture, which is the intensity of a marital relationship and how that enforces that, because no one sees the inside of a marriage. Most marriages today are relatively superficial because of that.
I saw a poll from this country, in the United States, but it's about 10 years old, so I don't know what it looks like today. I can't imagine it got better. I can only imagine it got worse. That says that 85% of married couples in the United States of America live as emotionally divorced from each other.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they're partners. They'll go shopping together sometimes, or they'll have a nice family and kids, but they actually are not intensely in a relationship with each other. And I think that's a very important thing you just said. Very few couples are in fact, it's almost like a culture to make fun of couples that are too close to each other. Why do you always have to do this with your wife? Why do you always have to go with your husband? Why don't come here? No, because I married this person because I don't need to hang out with you anymore. You got married and you don't talk to your friends anymore? Correct. That's how life works. We got married and I found someone better than you. That's why I married them and not you. Don't feel bad. I mean, you would do the same thing if you were me. If you found someone like I did. You. And most normal people would get it, but the problem is very many relationships are bad. They're people that they don't understand. They don't get it. And they don't understand how something so small could mean so much in a relationship because they're not in that kind of relationship or they haven't been in that kind of relationship. And you're right. That's a good point. A person who realizes that a relationship is very intense. It's something very deep, and every little thing that goes on affects that relationship. It can throw off a balance. And it's not, and I'm repeating, it's not two people living in constant jealousy of each other, or that's also a terribly unhealthy thing.
Yeah.
It's the point of we want to live in a relationship where we never put each other in a situation that one might be jealous of the other. In fact, the two people that are in a very healthy relationship, it could be by them shaking hands is not going to cause jealousy, but it's precisely that's the reason why they're so close to each other. Because they know that I will never put our relationship in question. I see sometimes pictures of I saw a guy, he was a rabbi, standing with his wife taking a picture with another lady, and he has his arms around both of them. And I said, like, both of them could be his wife. You don't know which one is his wife. And why do you have to put your wife in that kind of situation where she feels like, hey, each one of us got an arm? I'm sorry, Kehillat, that I'm speaking about these things, but it's important to think about. And it's, again, people are always jealous, and that's an insecurity that needs to be taken care of. But it comes not from a place of insecurity, a place of wanting to create the most security possible. B'ezrat Hashem, these are the halachot. These are the way the world works. Human nature, our HaShamayim understood human nature very well. They understood the problems of, think about all the things happening in Hollywood recently. If people were just careful about yichud, I'm not talking about not touching each other, not dancing, just not being alone with each other in a place where there are no other people. Do you know how many problems could have been solved? It just would have, you wouldn't have been able to get to the place where two people were alone and one person took advantage of another person. It just wouldn't have happened. But the world doesn't want, and the world thinks and thinks and thinks, and people get hurt, and people get hurt, and people get hurt. And this is a lot of people, they lose something from not caring about what halakha says. And we're not in one of those problems. But when it comes to washing our hands, even mikar adin, if we say that Maran says that a person can wash their hands, meaning the water doesn't become tameh because the person touching it is tameh, that still doesn't warrant in the department of tzniut to go about having our hands washed. That's the point of today's entire shiur. B'ezrat Hashem, next week we'll continue the conversation about washing our hands.